I recently wrote my latest book, Let Me Go, Breaking the Shackles of Insecurity. If there is anything that's plaguing lives today, it is insecurity. It has robbed people of destinies. It has robbed people of their marriages, relationships, because you cannot relate if you are an insecure person. People lose their jobs because of insecurity, lose their families, lose their businesses because of insecurity, and it has plagued many. If you get up to the level of leadership and you're insecure, that's a taboo. Woe unto the people that you're leading, because they're going to fall into serious traps just because of the spirit of insecurity. I believe with all of my heart that this is a book that everybody needs to get a hold of, because it's going to help you know how to be single and okay, how to be married and okay, how to relate with your boss and okay, how to do life and be okay. Because I tell you the truth, if you are not okay and if you're insecure, everything around you will be falling apart. And there are so many people that are asking themselves, why do I miss it? Why do my relationships always fail? Why do I always miss the mark? What am I going to do? Let me tell you, insecurity is a demonic agenda. And if you read this book, you realize it plagued many even in the Word of God. You go to somebody like Saul, he was so full of insecurity. You go to somebody like Gideon, he was so insecure. You go to many people in the Bible that were absolutely insecure, and you see yourself in it. And let me tell you, as a woman, if you're insecure, your relationships are not going to work. They are just going to be one hustle after another, and you'll think something is wrong with you. But there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to deal with insecurity. As a man, you're going to be missing the mark all the time, losing on business all the time. Why? Because of insecurity. Get to know how to get rid of insecurity forever. Get a hold of this book.
Don't let what you've done hinder you. Don't you let where you've been hinder you. Don't let what they've said hinder you. Don't you let your past hinder you. You're a woman without limits. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. A woman without limits. Yes, you are. There's nothing the enemy can do to stop what God has for you. There's nothing the enemy can do to stop what God has for you. You're a woman without limits. Woman, 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 woman without limits. Na 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 na. Woman without limits.
So I used to have nightmares of a father I never knew, and it was tantrums. I used to wake up, I cry, the whole flat. The neighbors are telling my mom, huyu mtoto wako si muhame.
I think mothers many times feel like, I'm protecting this boy or this girl from this big story. But if they're beyond 7-8 years, you're not really protecting them. At that point, tell them how much they could know.
Right.
Tell them, you have a dad, it didn't work, he's somewhere. As you grow, we're going to talk about it.
You know, I was actually going to ask you that question. So that's so good, because a lot of mothers are like that. They always think they're protecting the child. I remember my husband telling me, even recently, that he wishes the mom didn't keep them away from the dad, even though the dad was, you know, abusive to her. And he said to me something that's very powerful, that you know what, when parents are dealing, that's their dealing. But children should not be put in that mess.
That's true.
Like if a mother and a father are fighting, they should not stop the children from being in the lives of the father.
That's right.
You know?
Because to the child,
Yeah.
that's still their hero. He's their dad. For you, you have other descriptions because of what you went through. But to the child, saying, that's my dad. And I also say to ladies who separate them, don't demonize the father of a child. He might feel like a demon to you,
Yeah.
but to the child, he's still a dad. So don't do that, because eventually they'll blame you for demonizing the man that they love.
Yeah.
Because it's a psychological reality.
Right.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to heal? When did you finally heal?
The story is long. I think where the journey begins, I hope Pastor Morris doesn't watch this, but the story begins with a crush, a childhood crush on Sharon. So Sharon used to love photography. So as a stunt of wanting her to accept me, I was like, let me learn this photography so that when I go to her, I will tell her, you know what, we have something in
Pastor
common.
Morris, close your ears.
Boy-child challenges.
Pastor Pauline, you're not watching this.
So I did that. I wanted to have something in common with her. So when I'm going to shoot my shot,
Right.
I will be like, you, Sharon, we have something in common. Yeah, accept me.
Right.
But then, so I started learning photography in church. I think my healing is in church because I'm still healing. So my healing is in church. That's where I started now seeing God as the Heavenly Father. My healing is in church because Sunday was my escape day. Monday to Friday, I'm with people, with their dads, they're coming with lunch boxes. This is your KFC and your Pizza Inn. Me, I'm there with my noodles, my Indomie. So I'm like, I'm not getting what's going on here. So now when I started learning photography, I was like, wow, I actually love taking photos. So even though that didn't work, photography worked. So slowly by slowly, I started taking pictures in Teens Church under Pastor Chosen. So taking pictures, I used to come, I used to love because this is time I'm focusing on taking pictures.
Right.
I'm not thinking about anything else. So now this is where my story of healing began. It is 2016, 4th December. I remember the date so well. You, mom and dad, you are lining up people to come and greet you. And this is the first Sunday I was taking pictures in main church. I used to take pictures in Teens Church, that was in class 8. So in Form 1, 2016, I reached out to Shem and I was like, I was taking pictures in Teens Church. See, can I come and take just one Sunday? But there's just one Sunday in main church. And I will take pictures uko nyuma, just one Sunday, please Shem. So he organized and then I came and took pictures. So this is my first Sunday, ma'am. And now after the service, you come, you tell people to come and greet you. So people are making lines. So my mom is in the line and she's coming to greet dad. So dad knows mom, notices mom, and then you start to talk. So then me, I'm there taking pictures and dad asks mom, where's your son? So I pop out and I'm taking pictures. Then dad is so shocked.
Yeah.
So I was like, this feeling was so amazing. This is my first Sunday and I'm here with Bishop and mom. So we took a picture and I'm there, I'm in cloud 9. I don't know where I am, but then I'm taking pictures, but my mind is so far. I was like, hey God, this is my first Sunday. What are your plans?
Oh, yeah.
So now mom leaves after an interaction with you and dad, mom goes. So me, I'm continuing taking pictures because the line is still continuing to go on. And this is where my story changed. 4th December, 2016. After the line is starting to finish, dad called me because I was taking pictures very energetic after hugging dad.
Yes.
And dad smells good. He smells good. So I was like, my mind was with the aroma, taking pictures. Because it's the first time I'm greeting dad.
Yeah.
So I'm there so energetic, I'm doing moves. So dad notices that. And then when the line is finished, he calls me and said, my son, from now on, you are my personal photographer. So on 4th December 2016 was the first time anybody ever called me my son. So the words my son was so shocking. I was like, what is happening? Just by dad calling me my son. And he held me on the shoulders, and then we walked up to the office, just talking. How is mom? How is sister? How is you be doing? Where do you go to school? So that experience for me, till today, was magical. 4th December 2016. First time I was called my son.
Does it take that little for a boy, a child, to feel accepted?
It does, and I mean, just to say to you, Rev and Bishop, just being there as models of mom and dad is very powerful, and sometimes we don't realize it. But there are people who look at us, and this is what they've always wanted. So it does. I mean, there are times that just a little hug and affirmation of a man online. You know, there are times I talk the father wound, and I tell, are there people here who would like a hug like I got from my teacher? And 3 hours later, I'm hugging grown-up people. And they just want to feel like someone say, you're loved, you're a son, you're a daughter. And I remember a 65-year-old man who held me and couldn't let me go for like 10 minutes, crying. And the last time I saw my dad, I was 3, and he left. And I tried to hold on to him, and he pushed me with his leg. And he said, this is the next time that I'm feeling like I'm hugging a dad. So it doesn't take much for healing. And, you know, Mark chapter 1, verse 9 to 11, Jesus himself needed to hear those words. This is my son, whom I love. With him I'm well pleased. I talk about the 3 years. You know, someone who doesn't have a father is longing for acceptance. This is my acceptance. You're accepted. You're claimed. You know, someone claims you to be a son. That's very powerful. Affection. He hugs you. He shows you love. And lastly is affirmation. You're great. You're going to be my photographer.
Wow.
You know, that just fits the bill. After that, you feel like, I am healed.
Oh my
I am
gosh.
healed. So I think that enabled him to go through like the ABCDs of healing.
Yeah.
One is acknowledge that you have an issue, that you're hungry for a dad, that this is a big deal. Because sometimes we throw it off and say it's not a big deal.
Right.
But it is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So acknowledge it. B, break out of it. And part of it is forgiving your mom, forgiving the dad, wherever he is. And just saying, I don't want to carry this burden. I want to let it go. For whatever happened. C is community. This is where community happens. You know, Bishop being there and you being there, Mom, and all the other people, you feel like I belong to this community.
Right.
Healing is impossible without community. You know, you need people around you. And lastly is depend on God. Then God now becomes clear to you as your dad because you're in community. And Jesus taught us to pray, our Father, not just my Father, but our Father is you are part of community. You get to see God for who he is.
Wow.
Until your mind changes, your life will never change.
Did you know that your thoughts hold the master key to the life that you desire? Just think about it. If you want to change your life, you must change the way you think. Did you also know that experience is not the best teacher, but wisdom is?
I am so excited to be bringing to you my latest book. I'm calling it Think on These Things.
In his new book, Bishop Allen has put together a collection of power thoughts, insights, perspectives, and practical applicable wisdom drawn from his exciting years of experience. Inside the book, you will find deep insights on the power of purpose, integrity, self-leadership, excellence, the power of the mind, among others.
Truth is a universal commodity. Wherever it is applied, it produces the same results.
Oh my gosh, I'm just so touched by that. That is so touching.
And Mom, I don't know if you imagine the intensity of that day, because I think it's a day I found a new Jojakes. the words, my son, it was something I could never imagine. Actually, this is my first Sunday taking pictures in church. And he said, from now on, you're my personal photographer. I went home and I was talking to God. I was like, I call him Sir God.
Yeah.
Sir God, what is this?
Amecheza kama yeye.
What is this?
Yani unacheza kama wewe God.
At this time. And I remember the week after was Word Fest, and on Sunday was when he was being consecrated, on 11th. So after hearing that, because me, I told Shem just one Sunday, but then when we were walking up the stairs, he was like, I want to be seeing you in church. So I got an assurance that I'm not just calling you my son for one day, you're gonna be my son. So I saw this huge man holding me, smelling nice. I'm like, God, what is this? So I came on Wednesday and he saw me. He called me and said, I want the pictures. Here's my number. The first time I ever saved somebody, Dad. Because I took time before I saved that number, and I saved him, Dad. So every single morning I used to wake up, go to my contact list and search, Dad. I just see the number, I close my phone. That day, God gave me rescue. It's like I'm having a fire, and then lorries of water just come. That was the following Wednesday, and that is my healing process. Just having somebody to call me my son, and having somebody on my phone book that I can actually save them, Dad. And increasing, he used to text me, thank you for the photos, my son. So when I'm feeling low, I just go to my WhatsApp, I just check that text. Thank you for the photos, my son. And since that day, I served my Heavenly Father and served Bishop with everything I have.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I think there are many young men and women who are in
Yes.
the same state.
Right.
And I pray and we hope that they get someone who can call them, who can call them out and tell them, you're mine, you're my daughter, you're my son.
Right.
But the beauty of it, Reverend, is that there's a God in heaven
Yes.
who is all the 5 Ps. Our dads in this world could leave us,
And they could be
but
limited.
he's ever present.
Yeah.
He's our provider. He's our protector. He's our priest. He said, Jesus sits at the right-hand side of the Father, praying for us. He's our priest. He teaches us values. He's our prophet.
Right.
He tells us who we are. He said,
Right.
you're strong. You will make it. You're beautiful. You're handsome. You're this and the other.
Right.
So that experience of God as a dad, I think it's the ultimate healing experience. That God is
God
our
as a dad.
For example, I think for me in high school, when I saw him and he said, you have a father, and I realized he was concerned about my life.
That was
that.
it.
I
That
said,
did it for
I
you.
don't need to miss my dad anymore. After that, 1st of June wasn't a big deal anymore because I knew God is my dad, and he came to my dormitory
And
to
he
tell
loves
me
you.
that. And he loves me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So tell me, Pastor, oh my gosh, that is so touching, Kairu. So there are men out there. They are supposed to be husbands, but they are doing exactly what they saw their father do.
Yeah.
They are mistreating their wives left, right, and center, beating them, trashing them, going, just being weird. What's your...
I think that's a very good question. That's what the Bible calls the sins of the fathers.
Yeah.
Which is a perpetration of a habit, a sin to the next generations.
Yeah.
And I think fathers need to understand that they're very powerful. because in a sense we create culture and we perpetuate it, we give it to the next generation. Because the way God has it is that our names become the son names of our children, who become the father of the next generation. So the lineage is really sons and daughters, I mean fathers and their children, and then fathers, and it goes on. So I would say to the fathers, just be very careful. You're very powerful. Fatherhood could be a curse or a blessing. And what you do to your wife, because in a sense, a wife, like T.D. Jakes likes to say, moves from the father to another father, in a sense. So you begin to look up to this man as your dad in certain ways, because he calls you. He affirms you, tells you who you are, and you feel like that. And that's the power that men have. What you tell your children, what you call them, and then refusing to call them, and what you do to your woman. Because the way a man treats the wife, you know, can hurt the children forever. I mean, I've had to counsel with a lot of kids because I saw their mom being mistreated. They have grown up with psychological drama in their heads because of what they saw. And so I just to say to fathers, you know, manly power is supposed to be a blessing, not a curse. And if you've given your seed in intimacy and gotten a child somewhere that you're not responsible for, just realize you're becoming a curse to that person. You know, get involved. Realize how powerful you are. Look at how much he was looking for a dad. There's a child out there who is looking for a dad, and if you are the dad as a man, please play your part so that the world may be blessed. Look at, you know, Malachi 4:6. You know, it says, if the hearts of fathers and children don't come together, there's a curse in the land. And the curse is not just a storm or a pandemic. The curse is what social scientists say, that when kids don't have fathers, suicide rates go up 4 times, crime levels go up 16 times, poverty levels go up at least 2.5 times. Depression cases go up, school dropout cases go up. You know, and that's what the Bible is saying. There's a curse in the land when fathers are not connected with their children. So I think, to me, this is a very passionate appeal to fathers. Let's do our job. We become a blessing to our generation.
Be a man.
And to the next by being what we are supposed to be for our children.
So a lot of people are just told that, be a man. Do you think that psychologically they are probably traumatized to a point where they actually don't even know who they are? So when you're telling them, show up for your child, they have no memo. They have no idea.
They don't know what that means. Because sometimes the word man up, you know, grow up, stop behaving like a boy, it's more of a beat down than it is a call up. Because I think when I ask you to man up, it should be a calling you up to something beautiful. And I should know what that beautiful thing is. So we need a definition of manhood that is inviting to the men. So when you tell them, come on, man up, it's an invitation to something good that brings satisfaction to you and a blessing to those around you.
Not a beat down.
Not a beat down. Not saying, what's wrong with you? Why can't you man up? That just increases pressure and causes a man to withdraw even further or to try and prove himself a man in other ways. So I think we shouldn't put pressure, even ladies. And you talk a lot to the ladies. You know, there are times that you're just saying, man, you're useless. You know, there's a couple that came and, you know, the lady said, I'm about to leave this man. He's just not man enough. I said, well, tell me more. He said, he behaves like a boy. Look at him. And I listened and I told the lady, even me, if I was him, I wouldn't live with you. If that's how you talk to him, you know, I would be dead. But anyway, I was just trying to say, don't beat up the man. Tell him the truth with grace. Don't beat him up. Don't, because when a man feels emasculated, then he has nothing else to live for. He feels like I'm useless. I don't have any reason to be here, and just drifts even further into darkness because he feels beaten up and being told you must have this money, you must do this. You know, all of those demands in society don't help the men.
Do you think that also accounts for why men are the ones who commit suicide more than women?
Definitely. Last year alone in our country, 3/4 of all suicide insurance claims were men and boys. Unfortunately, last year, that account was, one of them was my own nephew. My nephew committed suicide last year, and he was going through depression. It's a very hard thing. We are trying to work with him, and it's just given me more passion to work with men, because men get to deep places and go into a cave, and they don't know how to get out. They don't know how to talk. Part of it is because society doesn't allow us to show weakness. If people found me on the streets, sitting somewhere crying, they'll make memes out of it and laugh about it and say, what's wrong with you? But if I found my wife sitting somewhere crying on the street, everyone would be trying to help her. So there's a way that men are supposed to be okay. And then we grow to a point where we don't know how not to be okay. So we pretend. There's a man during COVID who lost his job. And for 4 months, his family did not know he lost his job until I talked to him. Because he said, I don't know how to tell my family I'm not working. He would pretend he's going to work? Yeah, he would wake up and go to some place as if he's going to work, because he feels the burden is too much. How do I tell my family I don't have a job? How are they going to look at me? So I think some of that weight we put on ourselves as men, a lot of it is put by culture and others by people. And just to advise, I think the young women, don't put too much pressure on the guy you want to marry. You know, he might take off. I'm talking for you, so.
Kairu, somebody's fighting for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
But
sir.
it's true. But it's true that when a man is down, because men are achievement oriented, and so when you put a man down because he's not achieving, you're actually killing him completely. So you need to encourage him, because by encouragement he'll even find purpose and probably even awaken and begin to walk. Okay.
And celebrating for the things that he does. Celebrate that. The more you celebrate that, the more he rises up and gets alive.
A while ago, I wrote a beautiful book on celebrate yourself. And I've come to realize if you don't know how to celebrate yourself, nobody will celebrate you. If you don't know how to enjoy yourself as a single person, you will not enjoy yourself as a married person. You need to embrace you. The Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Meaning, you cannot love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. It's all about you first. If you love you, you can accommodate others. This book is going to bless you. It will show you how to celebrate yourself, because you're all that and a bag of chips and a dip on the side. How about for the ones who are giving excuses? You know, like you see, for instance, if we go back to Kairu, growing up without a father, and probably the father is there alive somewhere, but giving excuses. You know, men who give excuses like, this is why I do this, what I do. This is how about that?
Yeah, that's unmanly. And I tell the men, you know, the opportunity I have to talk with men, I tell them that's unmanly. You know, a real man takes initiative and lives in a responsible way. You know, leads sacrificially, just take up leadership responsibility, loves faithfully, and leads a worthwhile legacy. That's our first topic in Man Enough. And we say, this is what you do. You don't run away. We're in the mess we are in because Adam, you know, did the same, sidestepped his responsibility. Instead of saying, yes, sir, we did this. He said, this woman, you gave me. So blaming God and her. And it's because a man is not rising up and doing what he needs to do. So I would tell the man that manliness is an action word. It's a verb. You do something. You say something, you do something. You rise up and sit on your seat. We love to say, this is my throne, but sit on it if it's your throne. Take responsibility. Do what you need to do.
And do what people on the throne do.
Yeah, excuses are for boys. A man must grow up to a point where he's responsible for his actions. He takes responsibility for his mistakes and apologizes and knows his grace and moves on. To be a man is to be responsible. So that's what I would say to the men out there. Let's not play the boy.
Yeah.
Let's be the man God created us to be. Let's
Right.
take responsibility, fix what we need to fix, and look up to God to help us where we can.
So it took you a while to fix yourself.
Yeah.
It took you years, but you were willing.
I was
You were
willing.
intentional.
I was willing, I was open because I was aware of what I need. When my wife began to point out some issues in my life, I was willing to listen instead of just dismissing her. So I think there's got to be some measure of humility. We've got to swallow our pride as men. We have a big ego. And that ego, doesn't save us. We've got to be humble enough. I think humility is manly. We've got to be humble enough to know we have issues and we need help and we need God. And when we get there, I think the most beautiful picture is a man on his knee because he chooses to be, either before God or before others, asking for help or for directions. They say men don't get lost, they just take longer to get there. But I think it's manly just to be able to say, I'm lost.
Yeah.
I need help. I'm trying to love this woman and I can't. I need help. I think that's manly. That's taking responsibility, not excuse and say, I don't want to get involved, or that lady doesn't want me to get involved.
Right.
Excuses are just that. Yeah, at the end of the day, they become, it's so clear that it's lack of growing up.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to get to your books very shortly, but I want you to tell me why man enough. Hold that thought right there. Why man enough? Kairu, did you forgive your mother?
Yeah. I think it was just after that experience in 2016 is when I started to see my mom in another way. So then I think in Form 2, Form 3 is when I had to tell her, Mom, now you need to tell me the story. Because after now being told or being given that opportunity to be a son under authority, because I think something he said is we are looking for authority. So after being under authority of Bishop, I now started to see things in a different way. So I was like, Mom, I need us to talk. And then she actually saw that it's actually time. So she told me what happened, that they were not in good terms, and then he just left. So it's something I didn't know. So now I was just relying on one part of the story than the other. So now after I got to hear my mom's story is when I started to see that she's actually there for me. If she could have been like my dad, I would have been parentless. So now I started to see the sacrifices she made. She did a lot of work, like 4 in 8 years. Studied, did one, studied, did another, just to put food on the table. So now I started to see the sacrifice, started to see the pain she went through, and now slowly the love for her built. And now it's at 101%.
Wow.
Now it's 101%.
101?
Yeah. So I think, Mom, if something I want to say, I don't want to leave unless I say it, is that I think this is a message to parents and to kids, especially men or even ladies that are facing or are under single parent, get a father or a mother figure. I had one since primary, my uncle. As I said, that he said, if you get a family member, it's good. So I had my uncle who was helping my mom to provide for my fees when she's stuck and stuff like that. But I didn't see it at that time because my uncle had kids. So I was like, he has his own kids, so why am I looking at him like a dad? And then the kids are happy, so I'm like, and he had a car. So,
And a beard.
And a beard. So, yes, I had a father figure of an uncle, and he was there. He used to take me to, but there's something that I loved until now, is traveling. If I get a man, and I used to have a neighbor who had a father, and the neighbor used to take us to McFry's, to take chips and stuff. I used to love the experience of being in a man's car, going together somewhere. It was, I don't know, until now, it's still there, by the way, until now. So I started to realize that I needed a father figure. So yes, I had Bishop under authority, but then I didn't want to be too close because Bishop has a huge church. He has to father many people. So slowly, because I used to serve in church, I got into contact with John Derry. So I think my healing process, I give it 100% to Pastor John Derry. Because I know I took John Derry to my mom, and then we had a conversation, 3 of us, and mom told Sir John, I want to give this boy as your son. So John Derry, when I was feeling depressed, I used to call. Sir John, when this happened today, and I was thinking like this, and I want us to talk. So he got me out of my depression state. Because I used to get depressed by small things that are happening in my life. But since I got him, so I didn't go to my uncle because he was actually so busy. I used to go to him, and we used to talk. So apart from John Derry, I got Chris Wanga, and I got another guy called Davey. So when I'm under them, I feel like I'm loved. So if it's something I want to advise and something that has helped me, if you can get a father figure from a relative plus one in church, good combination. Because he said people under single-parented family, because after getting the nightmares, maybe I could have gotten to a point, but I didn't, where I was suicidal. But I now see the reason why I was not suicidal is because I had escape place, which was church. If I didn't have church, which was getting me away from my depression state, I would have gotten to that position. I used to steal money. If I didn't have church to rectify me even every Sunday, even if I used to rectify myself every Sunday, God forgive my sins, I used to sometimes fear stealing. So I could have gotten into crime and now ningekuwa
been in
kamiti.
jail,
So I got I got a safe place where I could release steam. Most men, and this is truth, even me, most men, even a small thing like a heartbreak from a girl, most men release steam from alcohol. That's true. Most men release steam from their peers. So if you get the wrong peers, I was lucky due to Kinabella, I got peers in church. If I got, because I had peers in St. Anna's, that was my school, who were bad, who used to do bad things, but I didn't go into that company. I used to love this company of church. So the peers, the people I was around with.
So be careful who you are around.
Exactly. I think that is something that is really important. If I can tell
to tell the young people.
The young people under.
And by the way, those of you who are watching us, Kairu is only 19.